I wanted to take the time to introduce to you our very special guest for hour number 2. And really, this guy, one of the legends of professional wrestling, and really has been there for so many of the integral moments and things that have happened behind the scenes as well in the history of this industry. But of course, he's the head of the board for the uh, George Tragos Thesz Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and they have their 25th anniversary Hall of Fame induction weekend coming up July 18th through the 20th in Waterloo, Iowa. And if you haven't gotten a ticket yet, and I need to get mine, I really got to get out there and figure out a way to do it. You should too. Shame on you if you haven't, because it is going to be an incredible weekend. I am honored to welcome to the Mark Hoke Show, Gerald Brisco. Gerald, thank you for coming on the Mark Hoke Show. We are thrilled to have you with us, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. We had a couple of false finishes coming on here right at my lake out here. You're talking about that hurricane barrel down in the Caribbean down there. Hopefully it stays down that direction, and bless those people that it's headed for down there, because I know how it is living here on the coast of Florida. But hearing that report come out of Las Vegas, I got kind of chuckled, man. But when's the last time you guys get hit by a hurricane?
We actually came close.
Hurricane Helms probably was the last hurricane.
Yeah, when he comes to Vegas, it is quality entertainment. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah, but yeah, we're just getting a lot of heat. That's all. Yeah. So yeah, that 110 yesterday wasn't a lot of fun.
Ooh. Well, that is dry heat.
Yeah, it is dry. Thank God. Thank God.
Dry heat. I stick her head in the oven. See how hot that is, too.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, we've.
I'm a Florida guy, so I can laugh about that. Well, you guys got humidity, yeah, but you guys are hot.
Yes, it is. It is a little toasty, sir. But yeah, I'll take that over that Florida humidity anytime. I did a lot of traveling down Florida, and yeah, stepping out the door.
I'm just the opposite. I'll take the Florida humidity over that 110, 112 degrees.
Go
out and step on that asphalt or try to open up a car door in that heat compared to this heat here. Well, we all have our issues, right? I mean, if that's the worst thing that's happened to us is heat during the summertime, get up, come on.
Yep, I hear you. Well, Gerald, first, before we get rolling into everything with you, I did want to ask you real quick. Of course, Sika passed away, and I wanted to give you a chance to talk about him real quick and your memories of Sika.
Well, Sika and I and his brother, my brother, go way, way back. Matter of fact, in the early 70s, when I first got into the wrestling business, I made a trip to Australia, and as part of the deal, Jim Barnett always traded talent with New Zealand. So I got to go over to New Zealand on a couple of shows over there, and that's when I first met him. I was still a rookie, and he didn't have that big old head of hair that he had back then, or quite the size. And then the next time I run into him, Jack and I were wrestling in Puerto Rico. Jack, my brother, and I were wrestling in Puerto Rico. And all of a sudden, we're in the ring. I posted it the other night on Twitter or X, whatever the hell it is now. And so happened to hear this commotion, see all these people scattered and running for their lives. And I look out there and across where the heels come in, and I see these two huge monsters with hair out there here, those big old froze, and they look like 400-pounders from where I was standing. As those cold chills were running down the back of my spine, wondering my question of why I got into professional wrestling. I looked over at Brother Jack, and he kind of had that same puzzled look on his face. And Jack could go, I said, Jack, what are we going to do? And he looked at me and said, brother, anything they want to do. So we quickly adapted our game plan, and that's the mark of a true professional, when you can look at your opponent and quickly adapt to your game plan about just whatever you guys want to do. We're here for you. But it turned out we had one heck of a match, fighting all over places. They scared the heck out of those Puerto Rican fans, and they scared the heck out of us two Hokie boys too. But we went on and became close friends with them. We had them in Florida, Georgia. Worked with them all over the country, all over the world. So I was really proud to be their friend. And Sika is such a wonderful guy. I mean, no matter where I'd run into him, it was always a brother, brother, how you doing, brother? And give you a big hug. And then Wes, my son, he developed a close relationship with him, and that's all Sika. Every time he'd say, "Hey, your boy, he looks great, man." So he became family. That's how it is in our business. There, you compete against these guys worldwide. You gain respect for them, and then the next thing you know, you're family with them. And I had no qualms about God saying I was a proud brother of Sika and Alpha.
Well, that's great to hear. And I've always found it interesting. With the bloodline situation going on in WWE, we're seeing so much about family in pro wrestling, and of course, you and your brother Jack, uh, complete legends, and travel the world together, and did so much. What is the mystique about being able to work with family, in obviously out in front of people, but also behind the scenes? How great is that to be able to have that time to be able to spend it with family as opposed to just being on your own?
Well, it's the best thing in the world. I can't imagine me going through my the business all those years without Jack by my side, and as not only as a brother, but as a fellow competitor, somebody that's been in those situations that I was trying to get into. Jack, being 5 years older than me, he had a little bit more experience than I did. So when I would run into issues, run into problems, and especially the backstage politics as a young man, trying to navigate them and having somebody who was, when I was breaking in, Jack was really on that rocket ship to stardom. He was catching on. He went down to Dallas, and a couple of guys saw him down there, referred him to Eddie Graham. Eddie Graham flew him out to Florida, tried him out, took a look at him, signed him immediately, and strapped that rocket ship on him. But Jack had already gone through those political things. And you got to consider the '60s, late '60s, coming out of college into the world of professional wrestling. There wasn't a lot of college wrestlers out at that time, not like there is now. Not and because of Jim Ross and I made it just a quest for us to go out and recruit these college kids. But it wasn't like that when we were starting. So there's always that animosity, a college kid, shooter boy, wrestler, all that stuff. And you get upset, you get your little concerned. Hey, well, I'm gonna have to do something. So a quick phone call to my brother would help me solve those problems right away. So it was invaluable having family, not only in the corner but on that telephone when I needed to call to navigate some political situation that developed in a territory or something.
That's amazing. And it was funny that when I was getting ready for this interview, when I started looking back over your career, I had almost forgotten just how intertwined you have been from back when you started wrestling, until you had completely stepped away. How intertwined you are with so many incredible moments and things that have happened over the years in pro wrestling. I mean, from out in front of the camera to everything that happened in Georgia and behind the scenes at WWE, and even when you won the hardcore championship and everything else, just all that stuff that you were in the middle of all this. Did you ever imagine when you got started that all these crazy things were going to happen to you, and just how much in the middle you were going to be of this? It's absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you for that. But hearing some of these guys on a podcast, sometimes how history changes. I was there. I know I was there, but sometimes I start questioning myself if I was legitimately even there in these situations that I'm supposed to be taking credit for, because it seemed like everybody else did what I was supposed to have done. So I quit taking credit for anything anymore, because I don't want to lie and say, well, maybe I was just a figment of my imagination. Maybe I didn't see Hulk Hogan when he was starting out in his business. Maybe I wasn't in Montreal when all that stuff happened. Maybe I wasn't backstage when he fights. I don't know. I sometimes I doubt myself. But you know what? To answer your question, I'm a small town boy, Bowlegs, Oklahoma, Blackwell, Oklahoma. Population so small that don't even register. Now they're on the map at least, but back in my day they weren't even on the maps. But to go where I've gone, to be involved in the situations that I've been involved in. Sometimes I gotta slap myself up the side of the head and say, "Yeah, you really were there," and I'm amazed. I'm blessed to have being able to get in that position, and why, sometimes just the stroke of the pen kind of put me in that position, and gaining the confidence of promoters. And that's where this business is really evolved from. And when we were starting out, you had to get that confidence. You don't win anything, but what you win when you get a belt, that proves that you won the confidence of the promoter and of the fans. And once you win that confidence of the promoter, word starts to spread around to other promoters. Hey, this guy's a business guy. You can draw money with him, and you do business with it. So, and having that, I think that boiled down to my mom and my upbringing. My mom was a single mom, raised 6 of us, and taught us at an early age what was right and what was wrong. And most of all, always speak up if you think you're right. And that's something I never had an issue with speaking up.
Jason, do you have a question for Gerald Brisco?
Gerald, the one thing I just really want to know, what was it like, traveling and having to be on the road so much? How did that affect your personal life? I know you were out there, a lot of times with your brother and stuff, but how did you handle that?
Jack wasn't, like I said, we grew up, my mom, a single parent with my mom. So Jack was always that authority figure. I mean, even when I was a kid in elementary school, Jack was the one that kicked my butt if I didn't do my homework. Jack was the one that, funny stories that's in Jack's book. People know I'm not a very good speller, and that's being kind when I say not very good. I'm a horrible speller. But my mom wouldn't let me go to bed until I learned all my spelling words. So Jack would get frustrated with me. We had to share a bedroom because we had a small house. So Jack would hide outside the living room window. My mom asked me how to spell a word, and I backed my big butt up next to that window, and Jack would be whispering the words to me, how to spell the words to me, so we could both go to bed. So, so it was kind of like that all through my career. I kind of relied on him to help me spell my way through the business there. But being on the road, as much as we were on the road back in those days, I waited and waited and waited. My wife had patience with me, and my girlfriend at the time, who ended up my wife, because we knew it'd be hard to raise a family out on the road. So we kind of waited late to have our kids and to get married and all that stuff. And it worked out. I'm still married to the same wonderful lady, Barbara, for the last 44 years. So
wow,
I'm thrilled about that.
That's great.
That is incredible. Well, of course, one of the main reasons we wanted to make sure we got you on the show today is because of the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Yeah. And, of course, a lot of people talk about the WWE Hall of Fame, but the George Tragos Thesz Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa is one that I think people sometimes overlook a little bit, but they shouldn't, because you've got the 25th anniversary induction ceremonies coming up. And, this was at the start was designed to recognize a lot of the guys that had done stuff on the amateur side of things, and, has evolved over time, and you have different awards for different categories. But tell everybody a little bit about the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa, how that started, and, how it's evolved over the years.
Well, a good friend of mine, Mike Chapman, one of the great wrestling historians, he wrote the Dan Gable's book, the Two Dans, about Danny Hodge and Danny Gable. And originally it was supposed to be about the 3 Dans, and the third Dan was going to be who? Dan Severn, because Dan was such a hot shot in college wrestling. They ended up getting beat as the last senior year. So Mike changed it to the 2 Dan, Danny Hodge and Dan Gable, of course. So Mike was a really close friend. Mike Ben and I were really close friends with Coach Gable. And the only amateur wrestling museum in the entire United States was located in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where Jack and I went to school at Oklahoma State University. So Mike wanted Iowa to have something equal. So he was a huge pro wrestling fan. He was instrumental in getting in Humboldt, Iowa, getting that statue of Frank Gotch erected there. Did the fundraisers, and he did so much for so. When he opened the museum, he opened it. Okay, there's going to be a true museum honoring wrestling, and so he, of course, the main focus with Dan Gable was the Dan Gable Museum, Dan Gable International Museum. But he also put a pro wing in there. And who better at the time? We're talking 25 years ago. The great, incomparable Lou Thesz and George Tragos, who was Lou's trainer. You know, that's how Tragos got involved. And Tragos' son now is an international trader, importer, exporter out in the LA area, and still lends his support both financially and verbally and mentally to the museum there. So Mike had the museum, and as things go, you know, through the years, there became some political issues sprout up. So Mike resigned his post. So the Pro Wrestling Museum, after Mike resigned, wow, I mean, the pro wrestling part of it started sliding. We went from being the biggest event, and it was in Newton, Iowa, biggest event of the year for the museum, down to just a 3-day day, down to just one day where the guys basically came in and got their award. So it was dying both financially and morally. It was dying because there was nothing there to do. So Mike was asked to resign because the museum was going downhill. So when he resigned, the Stillwater chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, which is strictly amateur wrestling at the Stillwater there, the director is an Oklahoma State guy like I am and Jack is, and he called me and he said, "Hey, Brisco, we need your help. We need your help at the Waterloo, Iowa Museum." And I said, "Well, the word's on the street that you're going to kill the thing in a couple of years. I don't want to go out there and then be the one that, you know, that it dies, the leadership that it dies underneath. And so unless I get your word that we're going to be there as long as that museum's in existence, then I don't want any part of it. I don't want to be the one that killed the Dan Gable Museum. Had Dan Gable come look at me.
That'd be bad.
Yeah, it'd be bad for all of us." And so he said, "Brisco, I give you my word as a cowboy. As long as I'm in charge of this museum, which I'm going to be here as long as I live, then you're going to be in charge of that museum up there, the wing of the George Tragos Lou Thesz wing." And there's several. There's a Greco wing, there's freestyle wing, folk wing, and of course a professional. He said, I said, "Well, I want to take it back where it's a 3-day event. I'm not going to do a 1-day event." He said, "It's yours. You do what you want to do with it. Just keep it under budget." Key word, right? Keep it under budget.
Right.
We had no budget, so you know, so all of our budget comes from donors and volunteers and everything. So I accepted the challenge, and man, that was about 12 years ago, and now we're coming up on our 25th. And the last few years since COVID, we set record after record, and this year we're already on pace to shatter last year's record turnout. So being the 25th, plus we just got a star-studded cast with Arn Anderson, Tony Schiavone, the great Tony Gurria, Dr. Tom Pritchard as trainer, Greg Gagne. We got them from all the old territory, the AWA, NWA, and all the other organization. We got award winners from all those guys to kind of honor and celebrate the 25th year.
Oh, it sounds like it's going to be
great.
an awesome celebration for 3 days out there. I've got to get out there.
You got to get out there. Talk about it. I come out to Vegas all the time for that Cauliflower Alley thing that they put on out there, and Brian Blair does a great job. Him and his staff does a great job out there. So if I can get out to Vegas, I know Waterloo ain't no Las Vegas, but it's right there by the Field of Dreams. If you're a baseball fan, if you're a rock and roll fan, it's not too far from where the great Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, and all those guys' airplane went down. They got a site and a monument there at the last concert that they played there. There's a lot to do in Waterloo. Plus, the museum will occupy your day for at least 2 days of the 3 days you're out there.
Yeah. Plus, hopefully we're getting some more Penn State guys in there, by the way.
Well, hey, I'm an open Penn State guy. I just come out and try to learn something from my Cowboys out there. They're trying to share that knowledge. Everybody's on me. Well, you got Penn State, Oklahoma State's going to be Penn State. Let's get something real straight here. David Taylor was a great young man, was coached by Kel Sanderson, right? One of the greatest all-time wrestlers. You know who Kel Sanderson was coached by?
Yeah, I'm waiting. Go ahead.
Well,
hit us with
Coach Bobby Douglas, who was a teammate of Jack and my freshman coach at Oklahoma State University. So that makes David Taylor Oklahoma State Cowboy second generation or whatever the hell you want to say. So.
All right, Gerald. Yeah, I'm from PA, so yeah.
Okay,
I know.
What a job Kel has done out there, but it's that Oklahoma State coaching that Kel had his background. So.
All right. Well, I'll give you a few points for that. I'll give you a few. We'll give you a near fall.
Thank you. How many points near fall now? You know, there's 2, 3, and 4 near fall.
I can only give you.
4. You gotta give me a 4 count.
I'm only giving you a 3. I can only give you 3.
I'll take 3. That along with 3-point takedown, I had 6-0 already. So.
Oh man, that means I'm done. There's no way I'm coming back from that. Nope. But yeah, but it is going to be a great time. So, Gerald, where can everybody get tickets and information about coming out?
On Twitter, Facebook, TNT, HOF, TNT Hall of Fame. You go on there. Our good man Troy Peterson and Chad Olsen and Becca Roper out at the museum along with Coach Miller. Coach Miller, he's a lot like he's the head of the amateur side of the museum and the museum in general, but. He's like a Gable in Division II. He won like 11 straight NCAA championships with his team there. Man, hey, what a great coach and what a motivator! And it come out on that first night, that Thursday night. You get to hear Coach Gable. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars to hear Coach Gable speak, and to hear his passion and his speech that he gives every year towards professional wrestling. And everybody, well, Gable's he's one of the amateur wrestlers. He's a great coach, all that. Pro wrestling, what's it mean? You find out real quick where the pro wrestling stands with Coach Gable right away. He's involved the entire weekend. He's there. He's accessible. Fans love him. He loves our fans. He's made great dear friend with a lot of our attendees out there. And he's just like me and anybody else that's out there. He's accessible. And he loved to talk pro wrestling and amateur wrestling and to talk between the two of them. I tell you where Coach Gable has really, really now become bigger and bigger fans of pro wrestling, and because of the women's wrestling. Women's wrestling in college is now starting to balloon kind of like it did, when they had the change of guard with the WWE divas into the ladies wrestling. It's ballooning, and Coach Gable has taken notice of that. And he's preaching to these amateur coaches to watch WWE, how they're handling their women, how the women now are getting equal billing, how they're main event in WrestleMania and all this stuff. And Gable's using that same floor plan, same model when he's out preaching to these coaches to start women's program in the universities in there, that there's opportunities for these young ladies, not only in professional, but in college. If I had daughters right now, I'd have them on the map because of scholarship opportunities in the next few years with more and more Division I programs starting, ladies wrestling and women's wrestling, is going to be insane for these young girls at that early age that are starting now. So, folks, get your young ladies in amateur wrestling if you want them to get a scholarship.
There you go. And if I get a chance to get out there, I'll have to say hi to Backlund too, because he and Brad Rangans, I went to North Dakota State. And Bucky Maughan, the coach, and learned under him a little bit. And so I'll have to do a little bison talk with those guys. So
there you go.
Well, Gerald, I know you got to get rolling, but I want to thank you so much. Honored to talk to you, and been a fan of was a fan of both you and your brother for a long time. And this was certainly a thrill for me to have you come on the Mark Hoke Show, Jason. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get to see you out in Waterloo. It's going to be a great time, and everybody's got to go get their tickets and come out. It's going to be a blast.
Well, I appreciate being on here. It's a thrill for me to come on and talk about the thing I'm most passionate about, and that's the Hall of Fame out there. Go on Twitter and Facebook, George Tragos and Thesz, TNT Hall of Fame, and there's links to tie you in. and it's really fantastic right now. If you join our lifetime membership, which it's a cheap 285, 75, whatever it is, you get a T-shirt with the George Tragos Thesz Hall of Fame logo on it, and on the back of it, it has all of our lifetime members' names on the T-shirts. There's Sergeant Slaughter on there, JBL's on there. And we can't get out of here without talking about my podcast.
Oh,
Either
yeah, I'm
trying to
sorry.
slip out of here without talking about my podcast. But get that T-shirt. Go ahead and make your donation at 401c, which means it's tax deductible. Everything, all the donations are tax deductible. So get on there and get that. And most of all, tune into YouTube and wherever you get your podcast for Stories with Brisco and Bradshaw. Learn a little bit about the history of our business. We've had some of the greatest historians in the world recently on. We had Greg Oliver on talking about Toronto wrestling. We had Mike Mooneyham talking about Mid-Atlantic wrestling. We had Dr. Mike Lano talking about the West Coast wrestling not long ago. We had Al Getz talking about Oklahoma wrestling. We've had some Texas boys talking about old Texas wrestling. So we cover it all. So, Stories with Brisco and Bradshaw on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts.
There you go. Well, Gerald, thank you so much for the time. We do appreciate it, and good luck with everything. And we will hopefully, I'd love to do this again soon, and we'll talk some more. Okay.
I'd love to be on and talk some more. I like to talk football, I like talking sports, but I love talking wrestling. So I appreciate you guys' time. And if I don't see you now, we're going to be tapping like you mean it when I do see you.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir. We do appreciate it. There you go, everybody. Gerald Brisco joining us on the Mark Hoke Show. What a thrill and an honor to have Gerald Brisco on the show. That was awesome.
Yes, that was absolutely awesome.
Man. And by the way, we are way behind, so we got to get to a commercial break. I kind of knew that was coming. So stick around, everybody. We got